The Ministry of Education says it will be increasing security in schools after a member of staff at the Vauxhall High School was shot and killed. Minister Carl Samuda, who visited the institution on Wednesday, declared the school as vulnerable with little to no security measures. Vauxhall High School is secured by a private security company during school hours and a watchman on the weekends. However, on the day that Grade 11 coordinator Carl Samuels was killed, the security officer had long before completed his shift. Gunmen allegedly from the nearby community entered the compound and shot Samuels, who was exiting the art facility. Samuels managed to kill one of his attackers. Another teacher who has been working at the Vauxhall High School for years said he too had been robbed by gunmen at the school. He said the students are also victims of crimes. Their phones and gadgets have been stolen by criminals, reportedly men from the community. The teacher said Vauxhall High School is located in a volatile area and is calling for the revision of the hardship allowance given to staff who work in this type of environment.
Most of our wards, other than the northern, the southern ward, the east, the west, and the north are bordering communities that are volatile.
Meanwhile, school principal Prudence Brown-Pinnock says she has been given a commitment from the ministry for the installation of several security measures.
We are looking at installing some panic buttons that persons who work to the back of the school have easy access to security. We're looking at putting in additional security guards, and we're looking at putting in some cameras.
Jamila Maitland for CVM Live.
A mentally ill society, that was the diagnosis by government senator and psychiatrist Dr. Sapphire Longmore of Jamaica's current conditions as manifested in high levels of crime and barbaric acts of violence. The senator was making her contribution to the State of the Nation debate in the Upper House on Thursday.
Dr. Longmore says in light of Jamaica's crime reality, mental health care must be paramount for the Ministry of Health and Wellness. According to her, acts of violence are manifestations of mental health problems.
When someone can slice the throat of an 8-year-old child, when we sit and we hear of the women who are being killed brutally by their ex-partners and spouses. Yesterday, one woman and her friend was killed.
Dr. Longmore says the framework for what needs to be done to protect the society exists, as strategic plans for mental health were done from the 1990s, the latest document being developed in 2006. She's now calling for the strategy to be executed and the requisite funding provided. She's also urging the Jamaica Constabulary Force to employ the services of criminal psychologists when investigating certain crimes, noting that there were sociopaths and psychopaths among the populace. In the short term, Dr. Longmore is also recommending a national screening of children to detect whether they're suffering any effects of trauma.
I implore us that we ought to be screening every child in Jamaica for the effects of trauma. This is a move that the Surgeon General of California has actually put in place because they recognize that these effects are not just for now. We need to start somewhere in treating our population.
She also expressed a concern at the link between substance abuse and acts of violence, describing as irresponsible the move to decriminalize the use and possession of small quantities of marijuana without a sustained and effective public education campaign. In the medium term, Dr. Longmore says consideration must be given to incentivizing family life, thus reducing the formation and proliferation of gangs.
Gangs propagate where families break down. Gangs propagate where communities have no activity that is positive.
Dr. Longmore was speaking in Gordon House on Thursday.
The opposition People's National Party is calling out the governing Jamaica Labour Party for satisfying its political agenda at the country's expense after they called a by-election as the country prepares for a general election. The PNP has announced that it will not be contesting the southeastern Clarendon seat on March 2. Nomination day is less than a week away. Jamila Maitland reports.
Leader of the PNP, Dr. Peter Phillips, has described the announcement of a by-election by the governing Jamaica Labour Party as a waste of money. Dr. Phillips argues that the JLP is using the taxpayers' money to settle internal affairs when the country's health, education and security is declining. By-elections have been called for March 2.
The government is now using $30 million of taxpayers' money to settle their internal problem while the country has to deal with the various crises and needs for more police cars, need for dengue kits and preparations, hazmat suits to be able to prepare for the coronavirus.
Critics argue that the declaration of the by-election is a strategic ploy to test voters' confidence ahead of the general election. The PNP argued that the Prime Minister is settling its internal affairs at the expense of the taxpayer. With the resignation of State Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Rudyard Spencer, the South East Clarendon constituency is now open. The opposition says it will not be contesting and is preparing for the general election. The Jamaica Labour Party won the seat in 2016 by less than 1,000 votes.
They are treating the taxpayers' money as if it is the Jamaica Labour Party's money. And as a matter of principle, we will not be contesting this. We are preparing for the general elections and we will continue to prepare. We think that the Jamaican people deserve better.
The PNP says Mr. Spencer's resignation should have eased the internal issues in the JLP over the Clarendon North Central constituency.
This is somebody who, in effect, was a minister of government, was reduced in rank to a minister of state, and we are not only spending the 30 million here, but we're going to be also offering a post. Jamaica can't be run as if it is a personal plantation of the Prime Minister and the Jamaica Labour Party.
Jamila Maitland for CVM Live.
Now, earlier this week, the president of the Hope Pastors Citizens Association told CVM Live the Member of Parliament for the area, Fable Williams, as well as the Office of Utilities Regulation, have neglected the residents in their fight against the Jamaica Public Service Company. However, Fable Williams says this is not true. She says she has been involved in the battle between both parties. Aladdin Love reports.
Our minister and our MP is in charge of electricity. They have not taken this to Parliament, you know.
The president of the Hope Pasture Citizens Association, Michael Williams, refers to a long-standing dispute between the community and the Jamaica Public Service, JPS. The dispute was taken to court by the residents in 2016 in an attempt to prevent the utility company from installing overhead electricity cables. JPS says the underground system has become obsolete and would cost close to $41 million to upgrade at the expense of the residents. The Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Eastern, who is also Energy Minister, Fable Williams, says she has been well aware of the issue.
I have been to numerous meetings with the former president, former president. We've had many meetings. I have gone ahead and invited the current CEO of JPS into meetings for the community to lay out the issue, for JPS to respond. I've spoken with the lawyer that is taking the case now.
She says if legal documentation states the utility company is responsible for maintaining the underground system at its expense, then she will be in agreement, adding that the residents did the right thing in taking the matter to court.
My preference as a citizen of this country would be for our electrical wires to be underground. I mean, we live in a hurricane belt. Putting things underground would seem to me to be enhancing the resilience of the distribution network.
She adds that removing the wires from overhead will be more aesthetically pleasing. However, this isn't something she can mandate of the utility company as it operates in a regulated environment. Williams notes if this is desired by the country because of issues with resilience, then it will have to be taken to cabinet. Nonetheless, she says the power company and the Hope Pastures community must respect the court's ruling. Aladdin Love for CVM Live.
Ignorance or arrogance, one expert says either might be responsible for the majority of case dismissals brought before the Industrial Dispute Tribunal over the last 9 years. The comment was made in light of a study led by Dr. Noel Cowell, head of the Behavioral Sciences and General Management at the Mona School of Business and Management at the UWI Mona. Here is Christine Forbes with that report.
Of the 150 cases brought before the Industrial Dispute Tribunal IDT between 2010 and 2019, 124 of the dismissals were ruled to be unjustifiable. This means that the reason or reasons for the employee's dismissal given by the employer were not rational and possibly unfair. In 2010, when the study began, amendments were also made to the Labor Relations and Dispute Act, which allowed for non-unionized workers to have their disputes of right heard before the IDT. Head of the U-Shara Labor Studies Institute, Danny Roberts, is linking the disparity to one of two things.
And there's a certain level of arrogance in the sense that many employers who believe that they own the business, a sense of proprietorship, believe that they are at liberty to do what it is that they wish to do, irrespective of the provisions laid down in law.
The study indicates that 82% of the 150 cases were from the private sector, while the remaining 18% belongs to the public sector. Of the 82% in the private sector, 15% came from the security industry, banking and finance 12%, manufacturing 11%, and distribution 10%. A total of 25% of private sector cases were not identified. Roberts states that there is a deficiency in industrial relations practices in the workplace.
We have signed a number of MOUs with a number of organizations offer training at various levels, not only in terms of understanding the provisions of the law, but in terms of dealing with soft skills development, which we think is also very important.
He further notes UWI Mona will be offering a postgraduate diploma in industrial relations this September with the hope of making the practice more common within organizations. Christine Forbes, CVM Live.
Next is regional and international.